Welcome, everyone, to the Bucks County Living Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Neff, your real estate resource. Today, I am joined by my good friend, Lieutenant Mike Ryan of the Langhorne-Middletown Fire Company. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. It's so good to see you. I'm so glad that you were able to join me on the podcast and talk about the Langhorne-Middletown Fire Company because you guys are 100% volunteers.
Yes.
And I think that's absolutely beautiful that you guys are able to help out Langhorne and Middletown on a strictly volunteer basis and fight fires and do other things in the community that kind of surround that entire fire company.
Yeah.
So you also grew up in Bucks County, right?
Yes, I grew up, raised in Langhorne. I was born in Bristol, but I was raised, I think, from like 1 year old to currently 38, with the little gaps here and there. I was just out of Langhorne, but for the most part, I've been in Langhorne my entire life.
That's incredible. So how exactly did you get into the Langhorne-Middletown Fire Company? Like, was there something from like childhood that kind of like drew you to become a volunteer firefighter?
So it's actually like a multi-layered story on that. There's that idea as a child. Funny enough, I liked to play with fire when I was a kid. Part of that backstory is I actually found out multiple years after I got back in the firehouse that, I guess for lack of better terms, an arson class I had to take as a kid. My instructor is actually still one of my chief officers, like assistant chief. Assistant chief. So I always had a fascination with fire. Then fast forward to my mid-20s, a couple of my friends that I'd reconnected with, they were both volunteer firefighters at the time, and the girl I was dating, we went through a rocky breakup, and while we were dating, she said I would never date a firefighter again, and I had the bright idea. I turned to my buddy, I'm like, I'm going to join the firehouse. She's like, why? I'm like, that's something I've always wanted to do. I'm like, and then she'll never chase after me again. So I'm still twisted in my head, but it was always something I enjoyed, and like now looking back, so that was like 13, 14 years ago. I'm so glad I made that. It was like a spur of the moment choice, and forever grateful for that one because it, for lack of better terms, reignited a passion I didn't know I had, and I got super involved with it from the get go. I wish I could say all days I was very involved because, as you know, my life is chaotic right now with planning a wedding and working 2 jobs, but hopefully it slows down enough to where, like, I still do it. Like, I still get on the truck as many times as I can, but some days are not always as easy as others.
Yeah, I guess it worked out with the girl not chasing after you because now you're going to get married soon.
Yeah, so somebody completely different.
Yeah, somebody completely different who is very much supportive of the volunteer firehouse. Who, I mean, for
the most part, there's days she doesn't like, but that's not because of the organization. It's not because of what I'm doing. That's more so because of how time consuming it can be.
Right.
So, because
absolutely,
like everything else in my life, I get involved with something and then I end up extending myself too far sometimes on it. Because as well as being a lieutenant right now, I'm also secretary for the next year for the company. So that's every last Tuesday of the month. Like I don't have to, but for the most part, I'm usually there for that hour and a half meeting, and then a couple hours, 2-3 weeks later to rewrite the minutes because you see my technological skills. I'm not a fast typer. You start typing like this.
Yeah, use the index finger.
So we actually started, since I took over, we talked about before I record the meeting. So I go back and then listen to it. And depending on how long the meeting is and what conversations go on, it can take me up to, I think the longest, the first time I did it was like 3.5, 4 hours.
Oh, wow. So you guys have actual business meetings because we met through a nonprofit that works with people in recovery. And I was the treasurer. You were the registrar, and for lack of a better word, you were the registrar. You're the one to make sure that all the groups and everybody involved was kind of organized. Yeah. So the business meetings, are they kind of run similar to how the nonprofit was, where it's like we kind of allocate funds and we talk about that, and you're secretary where you also take the minutes on that?
Yes. So we have. It's a bit different of a structure. We have a president of the company, we have a vice president, we have a treasurer. Oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank? We actually have a financial secretary, which is different than the treasurer. He actually is more so the one that makes sure that like he checks the mail and stuff like that. He's got like semi of a cakework job. The treasurer, I won't even talk about our bankroll. Our bankroll is decent, a lot more compared to what that nonprofit was. But yeah, it runs a lot of the same. And if you ever want to see a crazy meeting, go sit there at your fire company meeting. And I always say that because you can go in a lot of different ways with the meeting. I mean, we actually just voted on our current panel that takes place next year for 2023, and that was cakework of a voting. And you've seen how chaotic voting can get. Like we've had some years where like voting gets heated, and because we start a month earlier with nominations, and even with some of the budgeting, like I think 20 minutes of the meeting last month was where some of our resources are going to. Like we still have phone bills, we have gas bills for the truck, we have gas bills to heat the buildings, insurances, like we have all that stuff. So like all your tax dollars going into your local government is what's funding us. The coin tosses, our company holds them twice a year. They go towards like all of our bills because we need money. Our township and our boroughs. So we cover Middletown Township, Langhorne Borough, and Langhorne Manor. So they all the taxes from them, part of that comes to us, and it helps because I'm not like, for the lack of better terms, I do it for free. Like we have some kickbacks, but like at the end of the year, the couple bucks I might make in a year, or the 15% off, 20% off I get at some local businesses, and like Under Armour, some of the bigger places actually are doing first responder discounts. Actually, our wedding venue is doing a discount for first responders, which is fantastic. But at the end of the year, like I don't do that on my day to day. It's volunteer. This is all stuff I do on my part time, and another one of the reasons why I'm usually crazy and rampant. Like I'm on around. My life, my day, my plans can drop at a beep,
right? And
it can go from just hopping on the truck and it being nothing to a commercial building on fire. I've been in some interesting fires over the years.
Yeah, I don't even know if you picked up on this, but like I love the little puns. They might not be intentional. How the voting gets heated at the fire company.
They're not intentional. No, I wish I could say I was smart enough to be doing that.
I love that you guys are able to do such a great job in the community because you get called out. I mean, we've been together a few times where you're like getting calls, or you're like, wait a second, and then you got you got to look at the pager, you look at you got the microphone, or not the mic, you got the walkie-talkie hooked up, and you're like, you're ready to go at a moment's notice, and it could just be a false alarm, but then you genuinely never know what you're walking into.
That's one of the things that I try to emphasize to people. Like, so I have blue lights in my truck. I don't know if you've ever actually seen them on. And this is for the podcast realm. If you live in an area a suburban area that's got volunteer companies, your volunteer firemen have blue lights in their car. Pull over. Move over. Like, I'm not saying like you got to completely get out of our way, but give us room to get by. I think one of the biggest things that irks me is when I have blue lights on and I'm driving behind somebody and they're just not even paying attention.
Yeah, there's like, who's this dude with lights on his truck?
I think your lights mean nothing, and that's. Yeah. And I'm in that world, so I know it. Maybe they don't know what those lights stand for, or maybe they just don't even care. Like they're that self-centered. But yeah.
It's got to be frustrating because that's kind of how we met, right? Like we met because we genuinely just want to help people, and for you to be on your way to go help somebody and do something to help the community. And then you got some person that's just not getting out of your way because you got to drive to the firehouse. It's frustrating.
It gets very frustrating, and it gets very colorful in my truck going through calls sometimes.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like as much as that infuriates me, I'm also paying attention to what's going on. So like when we get those calls, they give us the description of the call, where it gets more. Why I need to do that is when you get into depth with it. So like when that call comes out, like say a call came out now, it's 4:49, so I know traffic's heavy. Traffic's going to bike going to the firehouse, going to the call, depending on what type of call it is. Maybe it's an accident, maybe it's a fire, maybe it's a duck stuck in the sewer. We had a couple of them. Cat in a tree, like.
So that really happens. Cat stuck in the tree. Call the fire department.
Yes. We had actually after a good friend of mine's wedding years ago. I was reached out to by a member of I think it was my chief, as I was like leaving the wedding that like, hey, like this lady's had her cat stuck in a tree for a little bit, blah, blah, blah. I'm like 25 minutes out. Like, I gotta drop my cousin off. I'm like, I'll be home. Like, I can come when I get back. Come home, like get changed, this, that, and the other thing. I'm on my way to go meet another guy at our other station, and he's like, oh yeah, the cat came down. I'm like, and this was like, mind you, when this initially came out, I think it was like 2 hours earlier. So the cat was in a tree for 2 hours and came down on its own.
That's like super stereotypical.
Yes.
And
and surprisingly enough, so that was, we've been back for 9 years. That was almost 2 years ago. So that was 7 years back into my volunteer career where that happened.
wow.
Now, the ducks, I reference that because I call them the quacticles. We've had at least 3 times that I can recall of ducks stuck in sewers where we went to go rescue. So it's not always we're saving a house, we're saving people, like we're saving animals.
So you think like animal control would do something like that, but that falls under the fire company.
So it kind of depends on what it is. They were actually stuck in sewer grates.
Okay.
So animal control is not always going to have the tools to get it.
To like get into like the public works and stuff like that.
And it wasn't even that. So like we're actually like the sewer drains you guys have in the parking lot.
Yeah.
One that we pulled up the grate.
Right.
I climbed down, picked the ducks up. We actually had somebody call. They dropped their keys down one of those grates, and we ended up like fishing it out.
Oh.
So we get
Wow.
calls for some really goofy stuff over the years, but that's why we're there.
Yeah, but I mean the lives that you save, I feel like
It's
that gives all the satisfaction that you need for everything else that you do. Because
so to see like the family reunited or like a person still alive, not to get dismal on it, but it's the nature of the beast. That people that they can come back the next day. Definitely seen some really bad stuff over the years, but knowing that I'm making somebody's day a little bit better from that catastrophic moment they're having, whether it be a car accident, a fire, whatever it might be, it's definitely rewarding at the end of the day.
what are some of the things that a person has to do to join the fire department?
So you're not going to really know, and depending on where you live, I might be able to answer it, but probably not because I'm still not the sharpest light bulb some days.
Not the sharpest light bulb, definitely.
Was
that intentional?
That was intentional.
Okay.
That is one of my favorite lines I started saying in like my early 20s.
Okay, so what are some of the requirements or some of the things that someone has to do specifically for Langhorne-Middletown Fire Company?
I know for our fire company, and this is actually generalized into Bucks County, Pennsylvania, I know to be an actual fireman, we have the course right now for Fire 1 is 192 hours. You have to complete that. With that comes a hazmat class you have to take with that, a hazardous materials class, CPR, first aid, and you have to be over 18. I think that's about it. Until you start driving, when you start driving, you have to have a valid driver's license. But to be a certified, actually, I have a national cert, a national pro board cert from the state of Pennsylvania through Bucks Community College, all paid for by my company. So your tax dollars put me through fire school to go interior. So that's a full-fledged firefighter. We call them interior firefighters at my station, our company, and it's 192 hours of county training. Now we do in-house training every week. For my company, it's every Thursday night. We do whatever training it may be. We might have engine company training, ladder training, hazmat training. We do CPR and first aid every 2 years. I feel like we do in the other years. But yeah, there's a lot of training.
So once you go through the initial 192 hours and you get all the certs that you need and the license and meet the age requirements, how do you choose like whether you're in the engine or with the ladder, or how does that work? So, I've always been curious about that.
So that's usually depending on your company. For us at my station, so Langhorne-Middletown Fire Company has 2 stations. We have Station 21, which is located in Langhorne Borough, and we also have Station 22, which is on Langhorne Yardley Road, right right before Maple Point, coming from the borough. So at the Station 21, which I'm located at, we have an engine in the tower. The other station, we also have a utility truck at that station. At the other station, 22, we have an engine, utility, and a fuel truck. Fuel truck is a mini fire engine, pretty much. It's just like a two-seater truck. It's got a little bit of water on it. All of our guys are trained to be engine company and ladder company, the tower qualified. They have two different tasks going into a fire. Sometimes it gets convoluted and you might be doing engine company work on the tower and ladder company work on the engine. It goes vice versa. There are big differences to it. It's all with the attacks and what your primary tasks are going to be on the fire ground. And that gets situated at your company, and that's before you're qualified, well, before you're a firefighter. You go through, that's when you do those 192 hours of Fire 1, you learn those different aspects of that.
That's interesting because it sounds like organized chaos.
Yes.
Because you're walking into a fire and you have, how many people are in the fire company?
At any given moment, we can roll out a fire truck with 3 guys and on one truck, and that's it. And upwards of, I think there's, I couldn't even tell you anymore. Like the active guys we have now, I think there's somewhere like 18 or 20 of us.
So you send 20 guys into a burning building, and you all already know what your marching orders are as you're getting there.
So yes and no. I'm going to tell you right now, not all 20 guys are going to go inside that building.
Okay.
From my knowledge, from my experience, you're going to have guys who are going to be outside. There's guys getting water to the truck because all of our 4 technically, both of our engines, our tower, and our fuel truck all have water on it. So we're ready to go.
Awesome. So you don't even need the fire hydrant sometimes.
Yes, we do. So you're
really
not supposed to. The only time that it's not necessary and you still want to, a car fire, it's going to be one of the few times where whatever's in the truck you can most likely handle on a car fire. If not, you usually have another engine coming in or another apparatus that has water. Anytime you are taking water out of the truck, you should water back in the truck. So if we pull through a house fire, yes, I have 500 gallons of water on my engine at 150 gallons per minute at roughly 3 minutes.
Yeah. Not very long.
Exactly. Now I'll tell you from experience, 3 minutes might go really fast, might go really slow. If you conserve water when you're fighting fire, which I know sounds crazy and insane to do, you can still do it. But the driver of that vehicle, whatever vehicle it may be, when he pulls up to scene, he's supposed to operate that truck and make sure he has water coming in. Now, is the water going to be here in 1 minute? Is the water going to be here in 8 minutes? Now, we luck out in our area here, most of Lower Bucks County, I think from probably Upper Mayfield. I might be wrong on this, so don't quote me on this. Say at least from Newtown down, you have hydrants. You start getting to Upper Bucks County, you don't have hydrants, or not as frequently. So you start getting involved in tanker task force, that's exactly what they are. They're huge tanks, like couple thousand gallons of water in these tanks, and they set up a whole system of pools that the engine is feeding the fire. The engine's pulling from that.
Wow.
Yeah. So and again, this is all stuff I've learned from the years of doing this, and that Fire 1 class, you learn all these things. Now, we don't have tankers. I don't know if I can recall off the top of my head if I've ever been on a fire that had a tanker task force, but we're only moments away.
Okay.
I've been to Lower Makefield for fires a couple times, been in plenty of Newtown fires, so if that call comes down, which it can, you can very easily, if a fire gets bad enough or if our resources are exhausted enough, we can move up the chain and go in there. I was at the Nifty 50 fire, which we're not really that close to Nifty 50s, but I was there for that. So yeah, it gets crazy. It is organized chaos.
Yeah.
For a new person wanting to get involved in fire service or volunteer fire service, it might seem daunting, but I'll tell you at the end of the day, I would never give that up. until I got injured. Oh.
It's clear that you're passionate about it, because I mean, who would stick around for so long in doing this and being part of that organized chaos unless they did like truly enjoy it? So next, I like to move into a segment called the Big Three. So the Big Three are 3 questions that I ask absolutely everybody that comes onto this show. My first question for you, Mike, is what do you think makes Bucks County a great place to live?
Location, I think, is one of the huge things. I think since we're so close to Philadelphia, New York, Jersey Shore, Poconos, like we have that quadrifecta. I don't know how to say that word, but like we're in that spot where like so many other things are accessible. Like I grew up going to the Jersey Shore. I go to Sea Isle every year, multiple times. We've talked to each other down there. But to me, that's amazing. Like we live in a spot where like I can go to all that, and then we have so much to do in Bucks County. I mean, you can go whitewater rafting up in it's not Peddler's Village, but up north. You go down south to Tullytown.
Yeah, the river country.
Yeah, you can span the whole Delaware River.
Yeah.
We have New Hope. It's on the river. It's a gorgeous area. Bentown, we got the mall, the Chamonix Mall. I think that's Bentown. But like, there really is so much to do in Bucks County. It's so much to offer, and it's so close to stuff like that.
Yeah. 3 most important things in real estate: location, location, location.
Exactly, and price.
I was actually talking to one of the more veteran agents in the office. Because there's always like talks of like the housing bubble, or are we in a bubble, or what's the housing market going to look like for 2023? And he gave me some very optimistic words as to this area, Bucks County, especially like Lower Bucks, Lower and Central Bucks, has always been kind of isolated from any kind of national housing catastrophe, because we are so conveniently located, where we're 45 minutes from the heart of Center City, Philadelphia. We're an hour to an hour and a half train ride up to Manhattan. We're an hour and a half southeast of the Pocono Mountains. We're an hour and a half northwest of the Jersey Shore. So like within an hour, we could be absolutely anywhere that anybody needs to be, between 2 prime vacation spots and 2 prime metropolitans. And our school systems are good. Our school systems are good. We have lower crime. And we have been isolated from, historically speaking, from any kind of housing crisis or market crash. So,
and that you brought up the word historically. And if you think of Bucks County, like there is so much history in Bucks County that people have barely touched the surface on. Privy to it because I've been here my entire life, so I couldn't remember most of it. I couldn't tell you, spout out stories, but like, Washington Crossing, for example, Washington crossed that.
Yeah.
For chaotic terms, but there's so much beauty and amazing stuff to do in Lower Bucks and Bucks County, and like scratch the surface. Like, I've been here forever, and like I think last spring or last fall? I think it was last spring. My fiance and I finally went to the Wildflower Preserve in Newark. I've never thought of doing that.
Isn't it gorgeous?
Oh, so beautiful. Bowman's Tower is right there. Like that's another beautiful thing to see, regardless of time of year. But great in the fall, great in the spring. Like, frisbee golf.
Yeah, you can go.
I love frisbee golf. So Tyler State Park's got 2 18-course holes if you like frisbee golf, and it's free.
And it's all free,
except for buying the discs. But there's just you can go on for hours and hours about how much there is to do in Lower Bucks County, or Bucks County, I should say, and like how close we are. Like I'm a union carpenter by trade, and I'm working in Center City right now, so it takes me going to work like 40 minutes, coming home like 45, 50 minutes. Like that's awesome. Right?
Yeah.
We're working 6:30 to 2:30 or 2:45, whatever. So like, I'm beating some of the traffic, but like it's awesome. Like, and Philly, you got Philly. Philly's got so much history and beauty to it in its own chaotic mess.
Yeah, and we're right next door.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So my next question is, what's your favorite restaurant in Bucks County?
I don't even know. I love food.
I know there's so many good ones too.
I think that's one of the harder parts, because it's like, I've had this debate with friends over the years. Like, what's your favorite restaurant? Like, what am I going for? If I'm going to go for a steak, maybe I'm in the mood to go to J.B. Dawson's. They have really good steak there. God, I can't think of anything. Like Langhorne Hotel, they have by far best chicken fingers ever. I love them because they're made fresh. Like they bred them to order. Even some of their like the Langhorne seafood I love. Buck Hotel's got really good seafood. Like it's what I'm in the mood for. That's really because at the end of the day, I'm gonna go to Steve's Steaks or I'm gonna go to Chick-fil-A because I'm quick and easy. Like, I love
because you're busy. You're a busy guy. You're working 2 jobs. You got the volunteer fire company, and you're getting married.
Yeah.
It's a full life, so I understand wanting to make a quick stop. But I like that Langhorne Hotel. I've never had their chicken fingers. I'm gonna have to try it.
It's funny enough. I actually had some this afternoon for a snack because there was a couple extra last night. And I'm taking them home with me.
Yeah.
You're gonna yell at me. I love their food there. My fiance is not a crazy fan of the food there, but I've been in and out of that restaurant for the last 15 years. And like the owners right now, 2 brothers, love them dearly. Like for the most part, would give my shirt off my back for them. But like I love the food. To me, it's a American Italian like home style food. Like the recipes are from their mom from the 70s. I think they've been there since the 70s. So,
wow.
And even before that, like I've always heard good things, and you're gonna hear the bad. But I've always loved their food. So like, that's to me, it's like I don't feel like cooking. Is the hotel open? I'll stop or grab whatever because their menu's diverse.
Yeah.
You get seafood, the cheesesteaks, strip steak, whatever, and chicken fingers.
That's great. Now, my last question for you, Mike, is where can people find out more about you and the Langhorne-Middletown Fire Company?
Langhorne-Middletown Fire Company, I don't remember our website off the top of our head, but if you're on Facebook, you can look up Langhorne-Middletown Fire Company. You can put a Google search into it'll take you to the Facebook and a couple other things we have. Find out more about me, Facebook.
I appreciate everything you do with the Langhorne-Middletown Fire Company, and I'm in awe of all of the things that you guys go through and the things that you accomplish, and really just putting your lives on the line every day or however often you're able to be on a call or be on the I guess on call or on shift or just sitting around the firehouse and maybe something happens, maybe something doesn't, but
we're sitting at home eating dinner.
Yeah, exactly. You've gotten calls in the middle of dinner sometimes, and it's like I gotta run. So I appreciate everything that you do, and I'm sure that that everybody listening is also very grateful for all the volunteer firefighters in Bucks County, because it's definitely a difficult task. It's definitely a difficult task. I mean, I personally don't know if I would have the stomach for it or even the endurance for it. I'm not in good enough shape for that, but I think I genuinely appreciate you doing. Thank you for your service with the fire company. I know you said it's a little like I don't really know what to do with it, but it's true because you guys do some incredible things in the community. So thank you so much for that. And as always, thank you. And as always, I'm your host, Alex Neff. Make sure to reach out if you have any questions about Bucks County living.